This is the active duty drop pool, and every time a new case gets added to the game, they remove one of these cases, meaning it won't be dropped anymore. When that happens, the prices spike and the case goes nuts in price. It would be nice to be able to prepare for that spike and that future investment, since those cases are often quite cheap before they get discontinued. In this video you will get the answer to what case gets discontinued next and also what you need to do if it gets discontinued. First of all, some basics. Which cases are currently in the active duty drop pool? Well, there are currently 5 cases in the active duty drop pool, which are the recoil case, the dreams and nightmares case, the snakebite case, the fracture case and the clutch case. These cases are all very different in characteristics, which is why we will discuss the cases separately first, so we know what they are all about and what Valve have to consider when deciding which case to get rid of. The recoil case. The most recently added case is the recoil case, and this case is still quite expensive. The newest case in the game used to stay above €1 for only a couple of weeks, but the game has grown so much now that the unboxing demand has become a lot bigger, which means the supply stays a lot lower, which in turn means a higher price for longer. That is why the Dreams and Nightmares case is still 50 cents and the recoil case above €1. Now the recoil case has some quite well liked skins, especially the AK Ice Cold and the USPS Print Stream, although the AWP is less well liked. That does add a bit to the opening demand, but the golds of a case are the most important. This case reused the gloves from Operation Broken Fang, which no one wanted, but it is a good thing for the market nonetheless. These gloves were already the least well liked gloves in the game before this case, and now they will be even cheaper, although that does mean more affordable gloves for more people. The Dreams and Nightmares case. The Dreams and Nightmares case was a community contest hosted by Valve, where people could upload their designs for a Dreams and Nightmares themed skin, and the best ones, well, best ones would be picked at the end, but that didn't exactly end up happening. There were lots of cool skins designed for the contest and for the case, but they weren't really chosen at the end. That doesn't really matter though, because of the knives in this case. It has the gamma finishes on the Spectrum knives and they are absolutely incredibly well liked by everyone. That means the case is still expensive, even though the only nice skin inside it is the AK Nightwish. The Snakebite case. The Snakebite case is the middle of the pack right now, and since it is unpopular in golds and in skins and it is actively dropped, this is the cheapest case in the game right now. It doesn't really have a crazy popular skin, even the reds are just okay. The golds are the Broken Fang golds again, and that means they are unpopular, which carries over to the case itself. It is still opened up quite a lot though, but that is purely because of the fact that it is the cheapest case, and people do love opening the cheapest case because it saves money. The Fracture case. The Fracture case was the follow-up case to the Shattered Web case, which means it contains these absolutely epic knives. That is why this case is still quite expensive, since the skins are really cheap and not really hyped at all anymore. The price is also higher due to people investing into it, but more on that later. And finally, the Clutch case. The Clutch case is by far the oldest case, but unlike other older cases, this case is still really popular and really well liked. That means a more expensive case and more openings for this case. This case contains some of the best gloves in the game, and since this is the only case to contain those good looking gloves, it is still opened an absolute shit ton. That's also why it is so old and still in the active duty drop pool. Valve didn't want to get rid of it because it's opened up quite a lot. Now, how does Valve decide which case to get rid of? Well, without looking into it much, it might seem like they just get rid of the oldest case each time, but that is not entirely true. It is simply more complicated than that. Even though it does affect which case gets discontinued, it isn't the rule. Like any company, Valve cares about profit, about making money, so they consider what case gets opened up the least as a more important factor than how old a case actually is. But it gets more complicated than that. They don't just pick the case that gets opened up the least either. For example, let's look at the case that was last discontinued, which is the Prisma 2 case. Back then, the 5 cases in the active duty drop pool were the Dreams and Nightmares case, the Snakebite case, the Fracture case, the Prisma 2 case and the Clutch case. The oldest case was the Clutch case, but the Prisma 2 case got discontinued. The reason for that decision is in this graph. These are the monthly case opening numbers from the month before the Prisma 2 case was discontinued. These show that the Prisma 2 case was neither the oldest case nor the least opened case. That is actually very interesting, seeing as it shows that Valve cares about the fact that the Fracture case is not very old yet, even though it has the least amount of opening numbers. You see, getting rid of the fracture case back then would have made Valve a lot more money because a new case always gets opened more than that, so getting rid of that would have been better for their money, but they didn't do it because it wasn't old enough yet and the Prisma 2 case was older. This basically shows that they are willing to get rid of the second oldest case, but not the middle case, meaning they want the case to be at least the fourth or the fifth case in oldness, meaning that they don't want to get new cases out of there too quickly because that would be bad for them. But actually it wouldn't be bad for them at all, it would just be bad for the game because we want to get a nice mixed amount of cases getting discontinued, and that case but getting discontinued would mean a lower supply in that one and an even higher supply in the Prisma 2, which would make it a lot different. But for Valve it would mean a lot of money, but they didn't do that, so they care about the health of the market more than making a bit of extra money, which is very good to see. They basically compromised on the discontinuation between their wallet, which would have been the fracture case, which is the least opened, and the best for the case market, which would be the clutch since it is the oldest, and chose the case in between, which is the Prisma 2 case. Well then, how does the situation look this time around? Well, it looks a lot different and also similar in some ways. Unlike last time, the decision they will make this time is a lot more predictable. These are the opening numbers for August 2022, which is right now the best tool we have to guess the next case to be discontinued. Before I tell you exactly what case will be discontinued and why, try to make your own decision on what case will be discontinued and why. That thinking process is very good for your ability to make investing decisions and to see what items are good investments and which ones are bad, which means if you are correct on the case and why the case will be discontinued, you will make better decisions in the future when investing. Okay, obviously this isn't set in stone and Valve could change anything they would want to, but I think we can be pretty certain that the fracture case is going to be discontinued next, and here is why. It is the second oldest case, which Valve has shown us is fine to discontinue as they did with Prisma 2, since it is officially old enough to be gotten rid of now. It also has a very low opening rate compared to the other cases in the drop pool, which means replacing this case for a new fancy case gets Valve a lot more revenue than if they were to get rid of any other case. It just isn't relevant anymore, and it's about time to get rid of the case about now. Last time they compromised because they didn't want to discontinue a case that was only the third oldest, so they had to do the Prisma 2 even though it was opened a lot more, but this time, since the fracture case is now the second oldest case, they can discontinue it finally so they don't have to compromise, which is great. It also means we can guess a lot more accurately. If this doesn't happen, Valve are doing something seriously wrong because they're losing a lot of money and doing something that's probably weird for the market. The only other option they really have is doing the clutch case, but that's going to cost them a lot of revenue, so I don't think they will, but even if they do, that's going to be very good for the market as well, because the clutch case is very well liked, so that's going to be a very good investment. But that's not what I think is most likely to happen here. Now, does this mean you should stock up on fracture cases right now and just make absolute bank? Well, it depends. These sorts of investments are quite popular and they do often get hyped, so even though the investment itself is fairly safe and in a year or two you are most likely to guarantee some profit as long as the game stays relevant, you do need to make sure you aren't buying into a hype spike. This case will probably be discontinued next, but that most likely isn't very soon. They usually release a new case with the new operation knives or gloves very soon after the operation ends. Make sure to subscribe to not miss my next video where I explain how we know what the next operation case will contain. If the case after the operation is the next case to be released, meaning there isn't going to be a case before the next operation, then it will be some time before it gets discontinued because the operation is not happening yet, and only after the operation the case will drop, which is going to be in like 4 or 5 months. Most likely they will release a case before then, which is what we're waiting for then, but we don't exactly know when that's going to be. That could be tomorrow, but it could also be in 3 or 4 months. We don't exactly know that. The point is, you have time to buy this in the future, so don't rush into it right now if you do want to invest into this case soon. If this video gets a lot of views, it might temporarily spike the price on the market, or something else might do that because it often gets hyped. A couple weeks ago, for example, it was hyped by a single video from Trilux who just showed his investments, which were the fracture case, among other cases, which caused a lot of people to buy into this, because a lot of people were subscribed to him and thought, hey, it's a good investment, but that caused it to spike, meaning people bought in at the peak, which means it crashes back down, which means everyone loses a bit of money, which is bad, so don't buy into the spike. If you can get this case for a nice cheap price right now, it is still quite safe though, so make sure to look out for that. I, for example, have about 500 fracture cases in my inventory right now for the long term. Always make sure the YouTubers you watch actually believe the stuff they say in videos, because it might just be a big ruse. Most investing YouTubers, for example me as well, have their account in the video description with a fully open inventory, so you can always see what investments they have and don't have. I think all YouTubers who deal with investing or some kind of financial topic should be upfront towards the viewers about what they have themselves and how they deal with these items, because what kind of advice is it if I don't believe in it myself? Of course, this isn't just buy in at the fracture case and be done with it. No, the market is more complicated than that, and just putting all your money in fracture cases is not wise. I can't say this often enough, but you need to be diversifying. You need to have tons of different items, tons of different cases, tons of different stickers. You just need to have a ton of variance in your inventory, so that even if one thing totally flops and doesn't do well at all, you still end up with a small or even large profit. That's why I don't just have 10,000 fracture cases, but I also have some clutch cases, some Prisma 2 cases, some Danger Zone cases, even some older cases like Gamma 2, Spectrum 2, Chroma 3, because those are a lot more safe. The fracture case is not going to go up until it gets discontinued, which does mean I have a couple just in case it does get discontinued, but just in case it doesn't, I'm still gonna make profit from everything else. This just builds a lot of safety into my inventory, and I think everyone should be doing this to some extent. Now, Valve do like to do unexpected things, but they aren't really able to do that so easily this time. To discontinue a different case would cost them millions of dollars per month for a few months at least, and they would have to still discontinue the fracture case afterwards anyway. They could also add a sixth case to the drop pool to make it less predictable what they will do, but who knows at that point, that's just speculation. Now you know what case will most likely be discontinued next, but if the CSGO market dies soon, the investment doesn't matter at all. Make sure to check out this video next so you know how the outlook for the CSGO market is right now and why I think we are heading for a potential summer hype. Also, I trade tons of skins for low fees, so check it out in the description if you want to get something new in your inventory without losing a lot of your value. That's it for now. If you're still watching, you are truly awesome. Thank you, goodbye.